so Carolyn called me across, come across, you know, I need you to talk to this person. And it was Lisa from Newsletter. And, you know, it's always scary to talk for a man talking about father's issues, men's issues, talking to a woman reporter. But she was absolutely wrapped in this report. And I was sort of like, you know, sort of bracing myself. But she says, I can see my husband in this report. And I look at this report, Carolyn, I can see a lot of men. And, you know, we were just discussing this, myself and Greg, about the report, and probably it's a bit kind to us. That after 40 years of being denigrated and attacked and masculinity is rubbish and testosterone is poison, who said that? Was it? That was my name. Miss Greer was the heart. I mean, what a terrible thing to say. If I went to talk about women's hormones being poison, I'd be laughed out and I'd be shocked, you know. But to say that has become cool, and it's so wrong. So what you're doing is, if you like, giving us an excuse to be good, and looking at this aspiration in us, which is legitimate, and I do recognise it. So let's give this woman a big hand and the team from MC Staff.
Thank you. I feel very humbled to be here today, and for us at MNC Saatchi to be giving a small voice for the men of Australia. I thought, because you're going to hear a little bit more about the report when we launch it at 12:30, you might like to know a little bit about the behind the scenes of the report that Jessica Chapman and I did for MNC Saatchi. When we started back in January, we had no expectations of what we were going to find. Or what we set out to do is to start to define the character and nature of Australian men. And you probably wonder why an advertising agency would care. Well, we actually, in the communications and advertising industry, is the conduit to pretty much the majority of messaging alongside the media that goes out to all Australian men and, in fact, society. So if we get it wrong, there's a lot of other people getting it wrong because we are. So we can help perpetuate the stereotype or redefine them. So what we wanted to do was draw a historic line under what are basically historic truths, but also modern day perceptions. And we wanted to find out, were those perceptions true or were they not? So we started off, we interviewed 140 men across the depth and breadth of Australia. And in fact, a number of them are here in this room today. But Jess and I were pretty in awe of men, probably within about 10 to 20 interviews, because we were just so shocked how honest and how self-effacing and how articulate the men were to us about their feelings, about their perceptions about masculinity, about their perceptions of what it means to be a good man. And the reporter just asked me, she said, look, you know, it seemed from what your report says that the men were very honest. Why is that? And yeah, isn't that incredible? The societal perception is that men are unable to articulate their feelings, or that they don't have the emotional intuition at the same level of women. What we found consistently in the men that we interviewed, and so when we talk about the majority, we're talking about 80% or more of what we discovered, so there were massive patterns. We were just absolutely delighted with the articulation and the emotional intuition of the men we interviewed. And that was everyone from an Olympic swimmer to a CEO, right down to tradies and white collar workers and construction workers. We interviewed them all. And I think that for us, we wanted to find out whether men have evolved, and we absolutely did find that out. And I think the big thing that I'm often asked is, you know, why did you do this? And I immediately respond, we felt that we had a responsibility to give men back the gender issue voice. And immediately, every woman in the room, whenever I say that, go, men have had a voice for, historically all time. But the reality is, just because this gender has never lacked for privilege or right in principle, does not mean that it does not deserve to have equal mutual equality and respect. Both genders deserve that right. And I think what we wanted to do was redress the balance in this report and send out a much more balanced and accurate narrative of who the Australian men are today.
Great.